Welcome to Positive Living with Autism. I'm Benjamin. As you know, we've been doing this series on transition, and we're slowly coming to an end to it. There'll be other ones. We're going to do some family stuff, family sort of transition family too, so no way that thing's still going to be happening. Today's video is about boundaries. When I was a kid, I had to learn that a lot of boundaries were hard for me because it was tough for me to understand what was inappropriate and what was appropriate touch, and learning what was appropriate conversation, what was appropriate anything. I've learned that tapping teachers on the shoulders were not very appropriate, that calling them by their name. Sometimes the word didn't come to me when I was a kid. It was really tough for me to say the names. So tapping them on the shoulder, sometimes I do that at work. Sometimes I touch them on the shoulders to be gentle, but sometimes I didn't know what that meant, that I was doing it. And, boundaries for relationships for me. Like, what was not appropriate to talk about, what was not appropriate to be dealing with, what was not appropriate to be anything, really. I had no sense of boundaries, no sense of my own boundaries of what I believe I won't talk about, the things that I won't be friends with somebody about, and it's just, constantly saying yes when I mean no. Just stuff like that. I just never knew that stuff was. It wasn't until I really became a lot more aware of that stuff that I think with autism, everybody deserves to have boundaries. Things that we do not, areas we do not go into because they're just too personal. We're just not ready to deal with them yet. I really wish that I've learned a lot from my life of what my boundaries were, like not talk about those issues, not to have people use me and abuse me the way they did, or vice versa, the way I did it to other people. But it helped me. It taught me a lot about how to stay in that moment of boundaries and personal space. And today there are things I do not do, conversations and people I do not hang out with because they violated that boundary for me. It's like, this is where this went too far, or this went over. And a lot of people with autism don't have that chance because some of them can't talk. And so that boundary border thing is really tough for them. And I think the best thing you can do is just be understanding. Don't yell, don't scream, don't go, oh my God, the boundary. Because so many parents, so many people, I've noticed in studying myself included, we get into this track mode of defend ourselves, they're bounding our boundaries, and we don't even tell people that's our boundary. We just get all in your face about it, and it just brings back the memories that people who have a conversation with me tell me this is a boundary. I love that because that really says to me, this is your boundary. This is where I will not go to hurt me. And to me, it means that we're willing to be talking to them. I'd rather have you say to me, this is my boundary, instead of you going, da 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 da. I know that's tough for some people. Some people it's really tough to express that feeling of this is my boundary, this is what I won't talk about. This is, don't tap me, touch me, say hi my name, whatever. Have a name, whatever. And those people who taught me those things taught me how to have a human conversation. Human conversations were not my thing when I was younger. I knew to talk about the weather, but really opening up my emotion and my feelings were kind of interesting. Those were not my boundaries before. Today they're not really my boundaries anymore. I can have a conversation with you about stuff. Example of, I think people's names now when I say them, talk to them sometimes, but getting better at it. In a conversation, I can have a conversation with you about, this is a boundary for me. But as part of my healing process of a lot of the stuff I used to do, in my past, I've learned that those were not boundaries I wanted. I crossed many, many boundaries in my life that I did not want to do stuff that I just felt I had to do it because my mind just says those things. And today, I don't want to do that stuff. I want to be healthy. I want to be, so what do I want to call it? Why? Whatever. So happy, positive. I don't want to live in that negative mindset of like that. And for me, a boundary is that. I don't want to be negative today. Locking down, going shopping today, and my head started going down that road of like, okay, wait, no, there's a boundary because you promised yourself you would not, do that stuff. And you wouldn't get negative about what you did. And that's the thing. For me, boundaries are just so tough because it was like sometimes I kept myself going, wait, you said you weren't going to do that. That was a boundary for you. That's an issue that you don't talk about. Because I still have that codependent motion in my mind that goes, oh, well, maybe this time it will work. And it doesn't work for me. I get crazy. I get insane about boundaries. And to me, the greatest thing I've learned about boundaries is that the more we go over them, the more we cross them and don't do what we say we're going to do, who we're going to be, we're not being ourselves. We have to really start working to be ourselves. And that's the one thing about boundaries. Even in people with autism, boundaries of uncomfortableness, boundaries of who and what we are. I've said it before, we always have to have our sacred spaces. And for me, a boundary is you don't violate my sacred space. If you're in a bad mood, you're in a bad mood. And I'm warning that I can be in a good mood, you can be in a bad mood. But for me, it's just the parallel universe of what we believe in. So I want you to think, what are your boundaries? Is it, don't touch me, don't hug me, don't whatever it is. I mean, I don't like being hugged. One of my boundaries. My parents can hug me, my family can hug me, people can hug me. Some people, I need to shake their hand. Because I broke boundaries that way. I used those things for the wrong reason. And it's in my mind. This is the line I will not cross. And I have to stick to that. It takes discipline not to break those boundaries. So people ask me, what are your boundaries? What do you believe in? What are your boundaries? Where do you stop it? Where do you go? And talk to your parents about this. Talk to your families about this. Talk to your people who you work with, your care workers, whatever. Ask them. These are my boundaries. This is what I believe. This is what I don't want to do. They'll listen to you. You can never have somebody else speak for you. You always must speak your own voice. You gotta find your inner voice and speak. Even if it's for your iPad, whatever it is. That's the way to break the boundaries. And stick to your boundaries. The boundary is I don't want to eat this food, or my boundary is I don't want you hurting me that way. Whatever it is, basically, have your yeses mean yeses and your no's mean no's. Stick to them. That's it. Thank you.